Hello, I'm Cheyenne Dirksen-Schroeder, Assistant Editor of the Hutchinson News. Today we're talking to different candidates, what they're running for, and how they might affect some readers here in this area. So first of all, go ahead and give me your name, where you're from, and what you're looking at running at.
David Curtis from Stafford, and I'm looking into running for State House Representatives in the 113th District.
Okay, sure. Tell me a little bit about what's not working right now. What aspects are you most focused on as the biggest problems that we should fix first?
Well, the one that they've been actually working on at the state level right now is funding for education, which I think is of utmost priority. Our infrastructure, this current administration and the previous governor have stolen from the highway department so much money that needs to go back into keeping up our roads. And then healthcare. Medicaid expansion is desperately needed in this state. Without Medicaid, I would probably right now be dead. I'm a cancer survivor, and Medicaid is what saved my life. So I'm a very strong advocate for that.
Sure. Tell me about your thoughts about how to improve each of those aspects. You can start with education.
Education, we need to stop worrying so much about we need to worry more about how to raise the money, and we need to not worry about cutting taxes for so many people that really don't need their taxes cut. I have people that I talk to when Brownback's, what he called his tax cuts for the small businesses. Most of the small business people I talk to, they didn't need the tax cut. It wasn't enough to do them any good. They weren't going to hire another person because they got a tax cut. It was just a benefit that they could stick in their pocket because they weren't in a position to expand like that to bring more people into their business. So that always bothered me from that aspect. And so I think that all needs to be taken back. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but we've got to pay for things in this state somehow. And by taking all that money away from the state coffers just does not work.
Sure. Will that cover only education or chip away at it, or do you think there will even be...
I think it'll help everything.
Okay.
I really do. It cut so much that he took from so many different areas that wouldn't have been touched had he not cut the taxes the way they were cut. So I think it would help all of the different areas that it affected.
Okay. For something like infrastructure, where if it's not taken care of, then repairs become more and more costly over time. Is it too late for infrastructure, or is it possible that some tax changes could...
Well, recently, the roads in our state were rated as probably the second best in the country. Okay. And that was before Brownback started taking all the money away from our highway department. And a lot of that was for just upkeep, general upkeep. And if you can't do anything with it. And if it gets too much worse, there's some of it's going to be beyond just repair work. It's going to have to be completely redone. And we can't afford that, not in any long shot. So it needs to be addressed immediately.
Okay, and same with healthcare. Is there?
I don't know. Medicaid needs to be expanded into this state, plain and simple, and it should have been done the first time we had a chance. And we've missed out on so much that could have helped so many people in this state that it's to the point where you've got to do it now. It can't be delayed any longer.
Why is it so important that healthcare be included in that list of three there? Is that...
Well, we've got so many small town hospitals, like the one in my hometown, that are hanging on by a thread, and they don't necessarily need to. This one is getting by doing not hospital things normally, like physical therapy and outsourcing of testing and things of that nature that are keeping it alive. And that's not, it's because people are going elsewhere because there's a lack of services there because they have no money. And that's got to be fixed sooner than later.
Let's talk about solutions. We've already discussed taxes. Is that the only way to solve these problems, or are there some other areas you're considering?
Taxes are number one. Something we need to do in conjunction with the education funding is we've got to protect the judicial branch of our state government from predatory congressmen and senators at the state level that want to tie its hands when it comes to dealing with education. That's got to be done. You've got to keep the different branches completely separate, and if you don't keep them separate, then you don't have the democracy that we're supposed to have in this country.
Okay, and sort of along that thread of democracy there, voter apathy is becoming a major issue for many states. Tell me about some steps you've taken or plan to take to improve voter turnout, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm the county chairman for the Democratic Party in Stafford. And so we've been working real hard on getting people at least aware of what's going on, timing for elections. We're in the process of starting our initiative to get people, make sure they're registered, and then early ballot initiative to make sure that if they of not the high propensity voters, but the people that you sometimes vote, sometimes don't, that they don't necessarily have to get out to go to the polls. They can have it sent to them and do it from home and make sure it gets done that way. So we're working real hard that way statewide, actually. So.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching.